We look forward to the time when there is no more night, when your people can come out of hiding, when your people can't stop all the fighting, when peace is established across the nation, and we bow before you in adoration. At the New Jerusalem, when the war is done, when the world is new, the tribes are one, the New Jerusalem, that's where we'll be, just worshiping the King of Kings, the God of all.
Shabbat Shalom to all of you again. Thank you for joining me on this fourth and final part of this week's Parasha. And as you know, this week's Parasha is Parasha Terumah. And this is what I like to call the Parasha experience. So welcome to all of you. My name is Rabbi Harel Clint Fry. And as we embark on this last section, on this 7th chapter detailed journey through the instructions for building the Mishkan or the Tabernacle. Okay, so most people like to skip over these sections or read them very fast because they kind of tend to be a little bit tedious and completely unrelatable. I know when I first read them, I thought, wow, this is really long and detailed and it really repeats a lot of itself. Okay, however, I believe it's extremely important. So how can we as 21st century believers and learners of the Torah find meaning and purpose in the instructions that God gave to Moses in order to construct the tabernacle? How do the laws shed light on the epic devastation of the story that follows, that is the golden calf? So join us in this Parasha Terumah, which is in Exodus chapter 25 verse 1 through 27 verse 19. And we uncover the beauty and the depth of the Mishkan, or the Tabernacle. So welcome to, again, the Parasha Terumah. Last week's Parasha, which was Parasha Mishpatim, ended with God calling Moses up to Mount Sinai to get the 2 tablets, all right, the 10 Commandments. Moses goes up, and the very last verse of the Parasha Mishpatim says, Vayi Moshe Bar Arbaim Yom Ve'arbaim Layala. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Wow. So we all know what happens next. Towards the end of the 40 days, the Israelites get a little bit antsy that Moses isn't coming back. They make a golden calf to replace him. Wow. Thanks a lot, people, replacing me with the golden calf. That's awesome. Moses comes down from the mountain, sees the golden calf, and smashes the tablets that he just received from God. Wow. Not a good thing. But the story of the golden calf is not the next thing that the Torah tells us. Okay, first we get 7 chapters of detailed instructions about building the tabernacle. So we are going to be looking for the purpose behind the tabernacle instructions. This brings us to the classic Parasha experiment question, why is this happening here? It totally interrupts the story, again, as in past Parashas, where there's sometimes an interruption. And the question is particularly strong this week, and here's why. The Mishkan isn't even going to be built right now at this moment. The perfect place for these instructions would be right before it's actually built, don't you think? After the sin of the golden calf. And yet they're here well before its construction. And why is that? So join us as we explore the story, hidden story of the tabernacle. And we're going to bring up a kind of a 20-second Parasha recap. So God says that Israel should bring donations to build the tabernacle so that God can dwell there. Then Moses gets details for its construction. First, he gets instructions on how to build the ark, the showbread table, and the menorah. All right, the candelabra. Then come the details about the structure of the tabernacle itself, followed by instructions for the altar and the outer courtyard. Now, I don't know, to tell you the truth, how Moses received these instructions, because when he came off the mountain, and I'm going off a little sidetrack here, all he had with him were the 2 tablets with the 10 commandments. So that would mean he would have to have it all right here, that God would have to have shown him how this was done, and he would have to remember all of that was shown him. Okay, then God instructs Moses to build the tabernacle. But why now? Why are these instructions here in the middle of this Sinai narrative? The first step towards cracking the mystery may be to figure out what exactly is going on at this point in the story. So, like I said, Moses is on top of Mount Sinai, and right before he comes down, he gets the tablets. Okay? I'm not talking about apple tablets or anything else, stone tablets. And that can't be the whole story. He's up there for 40 days. What was he doing up there for the 960 hours before God gave him the tablets? Well, like I said, when God calls Moses up at the end of the Parasha Mishpatim, he says, Ale Elai Ahara Beye Sham. Ascend to me on the mountain and be there. That's all he's saying. Why is that? Well, it goes on to say, Ve'tana lecha et luchot ha'evin ve'hatorah ve'hamtiva asher katavti lehorotam. And I'll give you the tablets and the Torah laws that I have written in order to teach them. That's his main goal. Like I said, there are other things that happen on the mountain. As God tells Moses what will happen on Sinai before it happens, we assume that we don't actually know what happens while he's on the mountain. So let's pretend that the camera shuts off for the moment. The text breaks from the story, gives us these laws, and when the camera finally comes back on, we see Moses coming down the mountain with the tablets. But what if that wasn't true? What if the camera hadn't actually turned off? What if it followed Moses up the mountain and we actually see his interactions with God on Sinai? And these details about how to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, are actually what God teaches Moses while he's up there. Many commentators actually say this, and it makes sense, right? So this actually makes the whole situation even stranger. This is a really special moment for Moses. Moses doesn't need to be on Mount Sinai for God to speak to him. God gives Moses instructions all the time. He's been speaking to him from the beginning. Okay, so Sinai is about something else. Moses is actually in God's presence. God is about to give Moses the stone tablets. It's a point of contact between humankind and the divine. So why not simply let Moses appreciate the moment now and give the instructions later when they're ready to start the building of the tabernacle? Why does this spiritual experience have to include the detailed, arduous instructions? It's hard to even begin to answer this question without really understanding what the Mishkan is in the first place. Why do we build one? Why do we even need one? So let's take a look at a few details from the construction of the Mishkan from this parasha. Parasha Terumah, and from the next few parashot, and you can see kind of a pattern here, okay? It just might be in that pattern that we will begin to understand the essence of the Mishkan. So let's start from the very beginning. If you're given the instructions for building the Mishkan, what would you open with? So let's talk about the meaning behind the tabernacle's instructions. I probably would start with the structure of the Mishkan itself, which makes sense, right? You build a house before you plan the furniture. And later in Parasha Vayechel, it's actually built in that way. But when God first gives the instructions here in Parasha Terumah, that's not the order that God chooses. So even before the Mishkan itself, God tells Moses how to build the Ark of the Covenant, which will hold the tablets. Now, this might be a little strange. Why build a cabinet before you built the room itself, right? So later, when Moses was told where to position one of the vessels, the golden altar, God says that it should be positioned Lifnei haparochet asher al aron ha'edut, in front of the curtain which is on the ark. It goes on to say, Lifnei hakaporet asher al ha'edut, which is before the ark's cover, which is on top of the tablets themselves. So he's talking about the cover of the ark, with the two cherubim. So, whoa, there's a much easier way to say this, right? Place it in front of the curtain. That's it. But instead it says, in front of the curtain, which is over the ark, and in front of the ark's cover, which is over the tablets. That's how much detail he puts in where to place everything, okay? The text seems very intent to highlight that the altar doesn't have its own position. It's just in relation to the tablets in the ark. That's our center point. So here's one more interesting thing. We can look at the names of the Mishkan itself. It's often referred to as the Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. It's where God meets Moses and the Kohanim, the priests. And it's not just anywhere in the Mishkan that God meets them. Okay. V'dibarti itecha me'al hakaporet mibein shenei hakevurim asher aron ha'edut. I, God, will speak to you from atop the ark's cover, from between the two cherubs, or the cherubim. Okay, because in Hebrew, the word cherubim actually comes from cherubim, which is plural for cherub, or cherub, which rests on the ark of testimony. And it's repeated later. Lifnei hakaporet asher ahadut al ha'edut asher ivaed lecha shama, before the ark's cover, which rests on the tablets, which is where I will meet you. So, Yavaed is like Moed, to meet. And we can look at that's what's happening. By calling the Mishkan an Ohel Moed, a tent of meeting, the Torah actually defines the entire Mishkan by the function of simply one thing, the tablets inside the ark. And we can find something similar later on. Now, throughout the Torah, the tablets are called Aviot Cheledut, tablets of testimony. Now, most simply, the tablets are a testimony of the revelation at Sinai. God met us, he gave us his laws, but amazingly, later on in Parasha Pekudei, the Mishkan itself is called Mishkan Ha'edut. There's no testimony in the Mishkan itself, it's the tablets. And inside the Mishkan, but again, the Mishkan is identified by the function of the tablets. Why is this? So with all this in mind, let's take a step back. What picture does all this paint together? The ark is the very first instruction, despite that it was not built first. The vessels are only positioned, as we call, according to the position of the tablets. Okay? The Mishkan itself is defined by the function of the tablets. So what was the purpose of the tabernacle? It seems that the entire purpose of the Mishkan is simply the tablets. It's all about that. The ark is the very first instruction to symbolically show its primacy. The tablets, which were placed inside the ark, are the essence of the whole enterprise. The other vessels are positioned according to where the tablets are, because that's the center around which everything else is built. And the names of the Mishkan reflect the tablets for that same reason. The essence of the entire Mishkan is the tablets. The tablets aren't just a record of the laws, they're a constitution. Okay, and I kind of wish the constitution of the other countries were based off of this, but they're not. The Constitution is much more than just particular rules contained in them. It's a symbolic representation of the most fundamental values upon which a nation is founded. And it's housed in a central place so that it will conserve It'll serve as a constant reminder of who they are and what they believe. So we can take, for example, the U.S. Constitution. It's stored in the nation's capital, protected by very thick glass and titanium. It's guarded day and night. It's equipped with a special button that makes it recede into a steel shelter designed to sustain a nuclear blast. Why do they do that? Because the Constitution is the nation's identity, all right? The identity of the United States. It gives purpose. It's what they stand for. So, the tablets, on the other hand, are Israel's constitution. Like I said, I wish all constitutions were based off of these, not rights and freedoms, but simply you will not. Okay? They contain the principles that God singled out as the most important values by which the new nation should live. And the Mishkan is the way in which we house and protect these principles. The tablets are placed in a golden box, in a wooden box, and in another golden box covered with two cherubs who guard it day and night. And trust me, they guarded it. Anybody who tried to touch the ark died instantly. Anybody who was not authorized to do so. And that's housed within a much larger structure, the Mishkan, the Tabernacle. As we learned in the book of Numbers, the Mishkan rested in the center of the Israelite camp. It was in the very middle, and all the different tribes were set according to where the tabernacle was, either to the east, west, north, or south, depending on which tribe you were in. That's how it was settled around. That moral constitution is placed at the heart of the nation symbolically to serve as a constant reminder to Israel of who they are and what they represent. God meets with and speaks to us from atop those tablets, from the heart of our national foundation. So, only when we can embody these principles in the tablets and make them the core of our nation can God live among us. Now, of course, we know that Yeshua, anybody, Jesus that is, who puts him at the center of their hearts, the same thing, okay? He needs to be the core of who we are and who we believe in. Now, understanding the tabernacle's main purpose, what is it? Now let's return to our question. Why does Moses get the instructions while he's on Mount Sinai? Moses goes up to get the tablets. And when he does, God says, Moses, those aren't just pieces of stone. That's your constitution. And here's how to ensure that it'll always be preserved, that they'll always be the center around with which everything else revolves. So here's the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And it's a perfect continuation of the last two parashot. In Parashot Yitro, or Jethro, we get the 10 Commandments. And in Mishpatim, we learn all the laws that show that they're not just 10 Commandments, but they're core moral values. And now in Parasha Terumah, we have a home for these principles, a way to make them the bedrock of Israel's society. They teach us how to be kind to the orphan and widow, how to be respectful of our fellow man or our parents, how to affirm our relationship with our Creator. But is that all the Mishkan is? If the whole structure revolves around the tablets, it has many other elements too. Throughout the rest of the book of Exodus, we see a bunch of mysterious things about the Mishkan. It has many different sections and that grant access only to certain people. There are godly clouds that descend on it. There are pillars of fire by night. So while the Mishkan is a structure that houses our constitution, there's much more to it than that. So join us next week as we continue to uncover the secrets of the Mishkan on the Parasha Experiment. Thank you for joining us today, and Shabbat Shalom. May you be blessed.
Now for the Aaronic blessing, adesso la benedizione di Aarone. Yevarechecha Adonai veishmerecha, Yair Adonai panavalecha veichunecha, Yisa Adonai panavalecha veisim lecha shalom, L'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, Sarha Shalom Shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of Yeshua the Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Shalom.
Che il Signore vi benedica e vi protegga. Il Signore faccia risplendere il suo volto su di voi e vi sia propizio. Che il Signore elevi il suo volto su di voi e vi dia la pace. In nome di Yeshua, Gesù, il Messia, il Principe della pace. Shalom.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.